Have you ever met someone who seemed strangely untouched by time? Not because they looked 20 years younger, not because they had perfect skin, not because they had discovered some secret anti-aging formula, but because there was something different about them, something difficult to explain, a lightness, a calmness, a presence. You learn their age and immediately feel surprised, not because they appear young in the conventional sense, but because they don't seem burdened in the way many people their age do. And the more time you spend around them, the more you realize that what you're noticing isn't really physical, it's psychological. Carl Jung would likely argue that what we call aging is not only a biological process, it is also a psychological one. Because long before stress shows up on the face, it shows up in the mind. Long before exhaustion appears in the body, it appears in the spirit. And long before people grow old physically, many grow old psychologically. They become weighed down by unresolved conflicts, unexpressed emotions, false identities, old resentments, endless comparisons, the pressure of living a life that doesn't belong to them. Yet there are some people who seem to age differently, and strangely enough, they are often the most self-aware people in the room, not because self-awareness makes someone immortal, but because it changes the way they carry life. And that changes everything. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Have you ever met someone whose energy felt younger than their age? Or perhaps you've noticed this change happening within yourself. What do you think creates that effect? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see what you've observed, because today's discussion may reveal a very different answer than most people expect. The first reason has nothing to do with appearance, and everything to do with emotional weight. Reason 1. They stop carrying emotions that were never theirs. One of the most exhausting things a person can do is carry emotional burdens that don't belong to them. The expectations of others, the disappointments of others, the projections of others, the unresolved wounds of others. Many people spend years carrying these invisible loads, trying to fix everyone, trying to rescue everyone, trying to gain approval from everyone, trying to become whoever others need them to be. And over time, this creates enormous psychological fatigue. The body feels it, the mind feels it, relationships feel it, everything feels heavier. Then self-awareness enters the picture. The person begins recognizing a simple but life-changing truth. Not everything belongs to them. Not every criticism belongs to them. Not every judgment belongs to them. Not every expectation belongs to them. Not every projection belongs to them. And once they understand this, they begin putting things down. Emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. The result is remarkable. They become lighter. Not because life became easier, but because they stopped carrying unnecessary weight. Jung believed that much of psychological suffering comes from unconscious identification. We absorb things that were never ours, then spend years wondering why we feel exhausted. The self-aware person gradually reverses that process, and in doing so, they often appear younger, because burden ages people. Lightness rejuvenates them. What makes this so important is that most people don't even realize they're carrying emotional weight. They assume exhaustion is normal. They assume anxiety is normal. They assume emotional heaviness is simply part of adulthood. And to some extent, life is heavy. Responsibility is real. Loss is real. Disappointment is real. But there is a difference between carrying life's responsibilities and carrying everyone's emotional baggage. The self-aware person gradually learns that difference. At first, it feels uncomfortable, because many people were taught that caring means carrying, that love means absorbing, that kindness means sacrificing yourself indefinitely. Yet the more self-aware they become, the more they realize something crucial. You can care about people without carrying them. You can love people without losing yourself. You can support people without becoming responsible for their emotional state. This realization creates an enormous release of energy. Energy that was previously trapped in worry, trapped in people-pleasing, trapped in emotional overextension. And once that energy is reclaimed, people often begin appearing different, more relaxed, more present, more vibrant, not because their life changed overnight, but because their relationship to life changed, and sometimes that makes all the difference. Reason 2, they stop fighting themselves. Most people are engaged in a battle they rarely discuss, a battle with themselves. Part of them wants security, part of them wants freedom, part of them wants approval, part of them wants authenticity, part of them wants comfort, part of them wants growth. And because these forces pull in different directions, life becomes exhausting. Every decision creates conflict. Every choice creates anxiety. Every step forward creates resistance. Jung spent much of his life studying this phenomenon. He believed that many people suffer not because of the world around them, but because of divisions within themselves. The self-aware person does something different. They begin listening. They begin integrating. Instead of denying uncomfortable truths, they confront them. Instead of hiding weaknesses, they acknowledge them. Instead of pretending, they become honest. This process is not easy. In fact, it is often painful. But eventually something extraordinary happens. The inner war begins calming down. The energy once spent fighting themselves becomes available for living. And people notice, not always consciously, but they notice. Because there is something youthful about a person who is no longer at war with themselves. Think about how exhausting self-rejection can be. Imagine spending years trying to become someone else. Trying to think differently, feel differently, behave differently, speak differently, look differently, live differently. Many people spend enormous amounts of psychological energy resisting who they are, not because they dislike themselves, but because they believe acceptance will only come if they change enough. The self-aware person eventually notices this pattern, and perhaps for the first time they ask a different question. What if the problem isn't that I'm not enough? What if the problem is that I've spent years believing I wasn't? This question changes everything, because it shifts the focus away from self-correction and towards self-understanding. Jung believed that healing often begins when we stop trying to eliminate parts of ourselves and start understanding them. The qualities we reject, the emotions we hide, the fears we suppress, the desires we deny. All of these consume energy when they remain unconscious. The moment they become conscious, integration becomes possible, and integration creates peace, not perfect peace, but enough peace that a person's energy begins changing. People feel less fragmented, less divided, less exhausted, and there is something undeniably youthful about that. Reason 3. They let go of the need to impress people. Think about how much energy people spend managing impressions, trying to appear successful, trying to appear important, trying to appear desirable, trying to appear superior, trying to appear happy, trying to appear perfect. It's exhausting, and the worst part is that it never ends. Because once your identity depends on appearances, maintaining appearances becomes a full-time job. Self-aware people eventually become tired of that game, not because they stop caring, but because they stop building their self-worth around external validation. They understand something many people never discover. The need to impress is often rooted in insecurity. The more secure someone becomes, the less performance is required. And when performance decreases, stress decreases. When stress decreases, something interesting happens. The face softens, the eyes soften, the nervous system softens. People begin carrying themselves differently, not because they are trying to look younger, But because they are no longer spending every moment proving themselves, that freedom creates a vitality many people mistake for youth. This is where many people unknowingly age themselves, not through time, through pressure. The pressure to maintain an image, the pressure to stay relevant, the pressure to be admired, the pressure to constantly prove something. The strange thing is that most of this pressure is self-created. It exists largely in the imagination. People assume they are being evaluated far more than they actually are. Jung understood that much of human suffering comes from identification with a false self, a mask, a persona, the version of ourselves we believe the world wants to see. The problem is that maintaining a mask requires energy. Every interaction becomes performance. Every conversation becomes strategy. Every decision becomes reputation management. The self-aware person slowly grows tired of this, not because they stop caring about others, but because they stop allowing appearances to dominate reality. And once they do, life becomes simpler, the mind becomes quieter, the nervous system becomes calmer. There is less tension, less pressure, less striving, and people often mistake that ease for youth, when in reality they are witnessing authenticity. Reason 4, they make peace with who they are. Perhaps one of Jung's greatest contributions was the idea of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, not who your family wanted, not who society expected, not who your fears demanded, but who you actually are. Most people resist this process because authenticity is risky. It can disappoint people, challenge relationships, create uncertainty. The self-aware person eventually accepts those risks, and in doing so, they stop living divided lives. No more one personality at work and another at home. No more endless shape-shifting. No more exhausting performances. The energy required to maintain false identities disappears, and with it, much of the tension that ages people prematurely. Because pretending is expensive. Authenticity is surprisingly efficient. One of the greatest tragedies in life is how many people never truly meet themselves. They meet expectations, roles, labels, responsibilities, but not themselves. Jung believed that becoming oneself is one of the most difficult tasks a human being can undertake, because authenticity requires sacrifice. You may lose approval, you may lose certainty, you may lose relationships that only existed because of who you pretended to be, and that can be frightening. Yet the self-aware person eventually reaches a point where the cost of pretending becomes greater than the cost of authenticity. So they stop hiding, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually. They speak more honestly, live more honestly, choose more honestly, and something fascinating happens. Their energy becomes coherent. No more contradiction between the inner world and the outer world. No more constant tension. No more emotional leakage from living divided lives. There is a sense of alignment, and alignment has a way of making people appear lighter, stronger, more alive. Reason 5, they stop reliving the past. Some people are physically present but psychologically trapped. They replay old conversations, old betrayals, old mistakes, old regrets, again and again. Years pass, yet mentally they remain attached to events that no longer exist. The self-aware person eventually notices this pattern, and while they may still remember the past, they stop living there. They stop allowing yesterday to dominate today. They stop rehearsing wounds that can no longer be changed. This doesn't mean forgetting, it means releasing. And releasing creates space. Space creates peace. Peace creates vitality. Many people underestimate how exhausting unresolved resentment can be. The body doesn't. The nervous system doesn't. The mind doesn't. Self-aware people gradually free themselves from these cycles. And the result is often visible. Not because they become younger, but because they stop carrying decades of psychological baggage into every moment. Perhaps you've met someone who cannot stop talking about something that happened 20 years ago. The betrayal, the injustice, the mistake, the humiliation, the missed opportunity. The event becomes part of their identity, and because it becomes part of their identity, they continue carrying it. The self-aware person eventually notices a painful truth. The past cannot be changed. No amount of replaying will rewrite it. No amount of rumination will reverse it. At some point, healing requires release, not because the event wasn't significant, but because continuing to relive it serves no purpose. Jung often emphasized the importance of moving toward wholeness. Wholeness requires energy, and endless attachment to the past consumes energy. The self-aware person begins redirecting attention away from what happened, toward what can be created, toward what can be learned, toward what remains possible. That shift changes a person. It changes how they think, how they speak, how they move through life, and over time, it changes the atmosphere they carry around them. People feel it, even when they cannot explain it. Reason 6. They live with more curiosity than fear. One of the most interesting things about children is their curiosity. They explore, question, wonder, experiment. Then adulthood arrives, and for many people, curiosity slowly gets replaced by fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of change, fear of uncertainty, fear of being wrong. Fear narrows life. Curiosity expands it. Self-aware people often rediscover curiosity, not childishness. Curiosity. They remain interested in life, interested in people, interested in ideas, interested in growth. And that mindset changes everything, because curiosity creates movement, fear creates stagnation, and stagnation has a way of aging people long before their time. Curiosity keeps them psychologically alive, and psychological vitality often becomes visible externally. Curiosity is one of the most underrated forms of vitality. When people become consumed by fear, life begins shrinking. The world becomes smaller. Possibilities become fewer. Everything becomes focused on avoiding discomfort. The self-aware person gradually moves in the opposite direction. They become interested in growth again, interested in learning, interested in understanding, interested in exploring new dimensions of themselves. This doesn't mean they become fearless. Far from it. It means fear stops making every decision. And that distinction is important, because fear often creates rigidity. Curiosity creates flexibility. Fear closes doors. Curiosity opens them. Fear contracts life. Curiosity expands it, and expansion creates energy. The kind of energy people often describe as youthful, not because it resembles childhood, but because it resembles aliveness. Reason 7. They stop seeking their value from the world. This may be the deepest reason of all. Most people spend years asking the world a question: am I enough? And they ask it through achievements, relationships, status, recognition, money, appearance, approval. The problem is that the world never provides a permanent answer. Validation fades, success fades, attention fades. The self-aware person eventually realizes something profound. Their value cannot come from something that can be taken away, not because they are superior, not because they are enlightened, but because they have finally stopped outsourcing their worth. Jung believed that becoming whole required turning inward, not to escape reality, but to establish a relationship with oneself that was not dependent on external conditions. And once that relationship develops, something remarkable happens. Life becomes lighter, less desperate, less performative, less exhausting. The person becomes more present, more peaceful, more alive. And perhaps that is what people are really noticing when they say self-aware individuals look younger than their age. Not youth, but vitality, not appearance, but wholeness. Not the absence of years, but the absence of unnecessary psychological weight. There is one final irony worth mentioning. Many people spend years searching for the secret to staying young, the perfect routine, the perfect habit, the perfect formula. And while healthy habits certainly matter, Jung might suggest looking somewhere deeper. Perhaps the question is not, how do I look younger? Perhaps the question is, what am I carrying that is making me old before my time? Is it resentment, fear, comparison, approval-seeking, unresolved conflict, a life that doesn't belong to you? Because sometimes aging is not simply the accumulation of years, it is the accumulation of unnecessary burdens. And sometimes becoming younger is not about reversing time, it is about releasing weight. The weight of pretending, the weight of proving, the weight of carrying what was never yours, the weight of living disconnected from yourself. The self-aware person slowly releases these burdens. And in doing so, they often discover something remarkable. Not eternal youth. Something better. A sense of aliveness that survives regardless of age. And perhaps that is what people are really noticing when they say, there's something different about that person. Not their appearance, not their age, but their spirit. A spirit that has become lighter because it is finally free. If Carl Jung were here today, he might remind us that aging is inevitable, but becoming burdened is not. Years will pass, challenges will come, losses will happen. None of us escape that. The real question is whether we carry those experiences consciously or unconsciously, whether we learn from them or become trapped by them, whether we allow them to deepen us or harden us. Because the people who seem to age differently are often not the people who avoided suffering. They are the people who transformed it. They confronted themselves, integrated their shadow, released what no longer served them, and became more fully themselves. Perhaps that is the secret. Not looking younger, but carrying life in a way that allows your spirit to remain alive. And strangely enough, that often becomes visible long before a person says a single word. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever met someone whose energy felt much younger than their age? What do you think was the reason, or have you noticed yourself becoming lighter as you've become more self-aware? Share your experience in the comments, because some of the most powerful insights come from the stories people are willing to tell.